All right, here we go. So we're going to start in Sukhasana. So we just need a block here today. So coming onto your mat. Here we are, another Monday morning. And using those arms alongside, lengthening up. Getting space between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets, a little squinging and shifting. And then bringing those hands to the knees, letting the shoulders drop down, grounding down those long sides into the sitting bones, into the floor. Lengthening up the center line. Inhale and exhale, resting against the wall behind you, finding that ease. And then the strength that keeps that spine long and extended. And just noticing your breath. And then letting it get a little longer. Slowing things down. Allowing that inhale to finish. Allowing the exhale to finish. And then reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Sending that breath pouring out, breathing the arms up overhead. Inhale and exhale, and then we'll breathe them back down. Inhale and exhale, reaching wide, taking up lots of space. Let's do that 3 more times. And if things want to do little shifting movements and flowing movements with that, go ahead and let that happen. Not trying to be too rigid and stiff. Oh, I think we need to do this once more. And then let's take a twist to the right. Inhale, making lots of space. Exhale and twist. Feeling the belly, the waist, the ribs, the shoulders, the neck, and the head. Extending up. And then those shoulders are still dropping down toward the sitting bones, even though they've got a little spiral to get there. Back to the center, and we'll change the cross of the legs. And then let's take that twist to the left. Inhaling and exhaling. Every breath is subtle action. All the spine participating, lengthening up through the top of the head. At the same time, shoulder blades going down to the sitting bones. Coming back to the center, and let's come forward. Reaching out long and wide and over, breathing into the back of the body. Noticing what your body wants. Does it want stillness and the steadiness of the breath there? Or maybe something needs a little shifting or squinging out. And then let's come up, unfurling that spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bones. And then let's come around onto all fours. Carefully placing those hands there like you're doing the plank or downward facing dog, reaching to the fingertips. Maybe a little lift of the wrist off the floor, pulling up through the inner arm, setting that base of the wrist back down. So trying to keep the weight going out into the knuckles and the fingertips, not just into the wrist. And then before we do our little cat and cow, just take a pull back, just as far as you can go there. Really press the hands into the floor, nice stretch in the shoulders. And then coming back up, and then we'll take a couple cats and cows. So as you cat back up, a little feeling like the hands and knees are squeezing in toward each other. And then as you cow back and lengthen out, pressing away like you're trying to slide the knees back and the hands forward. And we'll do that a few more times. And then finishing with that, finding the neutral spine long and flat against the ceiling. And let's extend the left leg back first with the toes tucked under, pressing back into that left heel. And so you can stay here. Option number 2, lifting that right thigh up. And option number 3, for those who are feeling very fiery already, you can take a swoop up to downward facing dog or three-legged dog for a moment. And then we're back at that hover plank. We're setting our right knee back down if you did all of that. And retrieving the left leg. So remember, all that was just options. Let's extend that right leg back, toes tucked under, pressing back through the heel. Staying here, we're lifting that left leg up. And if you want to take it a little more, swooping up, reaching the left leg up behind you in three-legged dog. And then if you're in that three-legged dog, coming back to the hover plank, setting the left knee down, bringing the right leg back in, and then we'll pull back again and then making our way all the way to child's pose, releasing the base of the wrist, softening back. And then unfurling the spine, coming up to simplified Virasana, sitting on your heels. If this doesn't work, you can sit in any other position. If you have the block, maybe sitting on the block there, putting it between the feet, and you can use that or a blanket, or maybe we're fine sitting on the heels. So feel a little length back through the shin, reach down through the front of the thigh, a little lift through the top of the head. And then let's breathe those arms up overhead. I'm going to pull the elbows wide. Here, let me turn this way. Pull the elbows wide, cactus arms here. Pulling them wide. And extend up. A little lift through the whole body. And pulling them wide. And lift once more like that. And then we're going to bring the arms straight forward, bending the elbows, pulling them down. So it's kind of like doing chaturanga in the air. And extending back up. And let's do that twice more, trying to keep those elbows shoulder distance apart. And once more. Actually, let's do this once more. That seems to be my class theme. Oh, once more with this one, because it's a little different. And then a big reach down with the arms. And we'll come back up onto all fours. Tuck those toes under, coming back up and downward facing dog. And walking the dog or anything else you want to do, especially after sitting on the heels there, opening up the backs of the knees. And then finishing with whatever you're doing, finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. So remember, maybe child's pose is the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. And then we will lengthen through to the plank, pulling those sides back, center line forward, long and flat against the ceiling. Of course, setting the knees down here as needed. And then we'll pull in toward an upward facing dog and let the knees come down. And then pull a little more forward through the center line, pull a little more back through the sides, press the tailbone down. So just stay here another breath or two, or maybe bend the knees. Keep that tailbone pressing down. And then we're going to come down to the floor from here in kind of a chaturanga-like action. And if you had the bent knees, straighten them out. Let's take the small cobra. So if you're like me, you ended up not in your usual sort of cobra position here with the arms. Just go with wherever you are. So it's a little different. And coming down. And let's do that twice more. And then we'll flying cobra again. So lifting the hands a little off the floor, lifting the legs off the floor. Squeeze those elbows back, feeling that pull down we were just doing, sitting on our heels. And then extending the arms out wide to the side. Pulling them back in, squeeze those elbows in. Setting the hands and tops of the feet onto the floor again. Coming up in a cobra, maybe peeling all the way up to an upward facing dog for a couple breaths. And then we'll make our way back to downward facing dog. All right, let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel, and then bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. Holding that left leg nice and steady. And if you are enjoying hover planking, we'll put in a hover plank here, or you can just go to the lunge. So hover plank, knee forward, swooping it back up to three-legged dog, and through to the lunge. And lengthening out this slow lunge. And then pressing the tailbone down to bring that left knee down into Anjayasana. And let's take a twist to the right. Arms parallel to the floor, pulling wide fingertip to fingertip. And then a little tilt forward to hook the left arm across, pulling wider. And then bringing that right hand around to Namaste. Really feeling that twist through the core as you come back to Namaste in the center. And hands into the floor, straighten up that left leg. Let's step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Holding over, taking a couple breaths here in the forward bend. Using support from the hands on the floor on the block. Maybe there's a little bend in the knees. Nice long breaths. And then we will come up to standing, extending out, coming up. Big front body yawn. Reach a little longer, then around to Namaste in front. Taking a couple breaths here. Tadasana Samastiti. And let's come back over. Big lift up. And coming over. Concave back, folding over, and jumping or stepping back to downward facing dog. And then we'll bring that forward to the plank. So we're going to do the same up dog to kneeling up dog, though you can do any kind of vinyasa you want. All right, starting to pull that center line forward, sides back into upward facing dog. The knees come down. Maybe this is enough here, maybe adding the bend of the legs. And then lowering to the floor onto your belly. If you have the bent legs, extending those legs out. Coming up in the small cobra. Coming down. Flying cobra. Lifting the hands and feet off the floor. Extending the arms out to the side. One more deep breath. Pulling those arms back in. And we'll make our way to downward facing dog. Maybe coming back up into upward facing dog along the way. And we will do that on the left. Let's lift our left leg up. And dog at the high fire hydrant, opening that head. And if you'd like to do a hover plank again, bringing that left knee forward and swooping back up to three-legged dog and through to the lunge. Lengthening out the low lunge. And then bringing that right knee down, coming up in the Jayas, another kneeling lunge. And we'll twist to the left, pulling those arms wide parallel to the floor. And then we will tilt forward to hook that right arm over, reach wide for another breath or two. And then around to Namaste with the left hand. And feeling that core with the twist to bring you back to the center. And hands into the floor. And straighten up that right leg, stepping forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. Deep breath. Oh, and how about one more? Coming up to standing. Big front body yawn. And pressing those arms down. And then a circle with those shoulders front to the back to interlock the fingers behind. Lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. Lift a little more and then coming over, pressing out through the hands. One more deep breath here. And release the hands. Concave back, halfway up. Folding over. And then stepping or jumping back to downward facing dog. Getting a good press back with the legs. And then the sides back, center line forward to the plank. Any version of the vinyasa, but here we go, moving into up dog to bring the knees down, to maybe bend those knees, lowering to the floor. Straightening the legs if you bent them. Small cobra, coming down, flying cobra, picking the hands and the legs up. Still squeezing the elbows in for a moment. And then reaching those arms out wide. Pulling the elbows back in. And making your way back to downward facing dog. All right, let's see. There's our legs back there, and we will lift the right one up into the air. And through to the lunge. And we'll come up in the warrior number one, grounding that left foot down, lengthening through the top of the head and coming up. Tailbone scoops down and forward as the upper body comes up and over. Softening the face and the jaw. And then let's take a circle with the arms, reaching the arms back. And so we're going to reach forward on the long diagonal as the arms come forward. And then using that back to pull yourself back up. And let's do that once more. Reaching back, long reach forward. And coming up. And straightening up the right leg. Feel like the left leg is straightening as well. Pulling the inner thighs against the center line, a little feeling like dragging the feet together. And then turning to the wide leg stance with parallel feet. And let's wrap the right arm under, holding the shoulders for a moment, pulling the elbows down. And then maybe taking that to the eagle pose arms. And lifting up. So remember, maybe there's not much lift up, that's fine. Lifting up the whole front of the body and out the fingertips. And then we'll come forward, reaching long and forward. And then as we come over, pulling those elbows in and up, squeezing up like a little cat back action. Release the arms, hands to the floor. And then take a few moments to really think about your legs, pulling up the inner thighs, widening, going down the outer. And then let's walk our hands toward our left leg, the back leg. And a little bend in the right knee, so I'm pulling a little to the right with that right bent knee, pulling to the left with the arms. And then let's take a twist, bringing the left arm up. So adjusting things as needed for this twist. Need to shift back more to the center, whatever it is. And then bringing that left arm down, straightening the right leg, coming back to the center. And then turning back to the right lunge where we came from. And we're going to pull that left knee forward and under into Matsyendrasana with the right leg on top. Or get here by any means. Long through the top of the head, balancing the weight as evenly as you can on the two sitting bones, and we'll twist now to the right. Inhale and exhale. And coming back to the center, and let's disentangle those legs into Baddha Konasana. Feet together, knees out to the side, holding onto the ankles or shins, lengthening up. And then coming forward, using those elbows, pressing down and also out. You're sliding the elbows out those thighs a little. Smoothing out the breath, letting it get longer, all the way to the top of the inhale, all the way to the bottom of the exhale. And coming up, bringing those legs in. And let's make our way back up to downward facing dog. And then let's go through the vinyasa. You can do that whole little pattern we're doing today or whatever. So we come to the plank, sides, back, center line, forward. Upward facing dog, bringing those knees down. Maybe adding the bend to the knees. Rolling down to the floor. And if you bend the legs, straightening them out. Small cobra. And coming down. And then flying cobra, lifting up off the floor. Take a breath or two with those elbows squeezed in. And then extending the arms out to the side. And pulling the arms back in. And then we'll make our way back up to downward facing dog. And we'll do all of that on the left. All right, lifting that left leg up. And through to the lunge. Coming up in the warrior number one, grounding that right heel down and scooping the tailbone down and forward. Upper body comes up and over. Really feeling that breath. And then let's circle the arms, bringing the arms back and down, and then take a diagonal reach forward as the arms come forward. And then lifting back up. And let's do that once more. And then straightening up that left leg. Pull that right leg up too. Feeling like you're squeezing into the center line, pulling that right and left foot a little toward each other. And then up and over, turning to the side to the wide leg stance. Parallel feet, parallel arms. And then this time the left arm will cross under, holding the shoulders. And then wrapping those lower arms into the eagle pose. And lifting up the front of the body, maybe the arms will lift. So I'm using my whole spine, not just trying to pull the lower arms up. And then coming forward, reaching out, and then as you come over, pulling the elbows up and back, rounding up. And releasing down into the floor. And then take a moment feeling those legs, pulling up the inner leg, widening, pouring down the outer. And then we'll walk the hands to the right leg towards your back leg, also known as the other side you didn't do before. And then a little bend in the left leg. So pressing that left outer knee a little toward the front of the mat as you take that long reach toward the back. And then we're going to twist to the right here, bringing that right arm up. And so adjusting the arms. Maybe you need to come more back to the center. Maybe that bent left leg isn't working anymore. And then finishing with that, coming back to the center, straightening both legs. Taking a few breaths here. And then we will turn toward the left leg, back to the front. And bringing that right knee forward and under into Matsyendrasana with the left leg on top. Letting yourself arrive here. And then twisting to the left. And coming back to the center, Radha Konasana, feet together, knees out to the side, holding on to the ankles or shins, lengthening up, and then coming forward. And coming up, bringing those legs in, and let's come up onto our feet into the standing forward bend. I'm just going to go to the other side. And then let's Utkatasana, the chair pose from down here. So bending the knees, pulling the hinge of the hip joints back, reaching forward and up, strong back. And then let's take a circle with the arms here, reaching back. And then as the arms come forward, there we are in that long straight line. So you might not get much arch in the back here. Let's try that once more. Just doing as much as you can. Swooping the arms around and lengthening forward once again. Back to the chair pose. And then coming over, forward bend. And you can hold this forward bend for a couple breaths. Those who want to add something a little more will lift that left leg up into a standing split. Remember, a standing split doesn't necessarily mean that left leg is very high. It goes where it can. And then we'll all take a big step back into the lunge and come up into the warrior two, turning that left foot to 90 degrees and coming up. There we go. Into the warrior two. And dancing warrior, bringing that right arm up. And into the triangle trikonasana. So even though we're straightening only the right leg, can you have a feeling of both legs getting straighter? Couple more breaths here. And then pressing that left arm back, trying to twist a little to the left, reaching the left arm back and around and down, back to the lunge, stepping forward. A little concave back. And over here we are in the forward bend, and we will do that on the left. So holding the forward bend, or maybe bringing that right leg up. So we're either just pulling up through the left leg or pulling up through both legs as much as you can, pouring down through the top of the head. And then taking a big step back to the lunge with that right foot. And we'll come up in the warrior number two. And breathing. Dancing warrior. And then into the triangle, feeling both legs getting straighter, drawing strongly into the center, even as we're radiating out. The stronger center we have, the more we can extend out. And then pressing that right shoulder back, opening up, reaching the right arm behind you and down back to the lunge, stepping forward. And then concave back, folding over. And we'll make our way back to downward facing dog. Through a vinyasa, maybe doing the conventional vinyasa or anything else you want to do along the way. And then there we'll all be and downward facing dog. Taking 3 deep breaths here. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then coming up, and we will come up on our knees. And Ustrasana, the camel pose. So you can use the thumb and index finger around, maybe fingertips going down the sacrum there. Nice deep breath, and then up and over. And we're going where your body's willing to go. Pause there, let things settle. Couple breaths, maybe easing a little deeper. And then wherever we are here, holding for 3 or 4 more breaths. And coming up, lots of strength, lifting through the core. And then we'll go back once more. So if you want to do something bigger, maybe we're going to start with the arms overhead. So maybe the hands will go to the feet from here, or they can come back onto the hips. All right, here we go. Second camel pose. Big inhale and exhale, and then using the next few breaths to deepen. Sometimes deepen means just not clenching your jaw so hard. And 3 or 4 deep breaths. And then coming up. And a little contract, sitting back into child's pose. And then coming up to that simplified Virasana again. And let's reach out wide. So again, sitting in a different position if this doesn't work. Breathing the arms up. And we'll just reach up the right and reach up the left. Maybe a little contract in and up with the abdominal muscles so you really lengthen through the lower back. And let's do 4 more. And then reaching the arms down, let's sit over onto the right hip and extend the left leg out. So remember, I'm not the mirror here now. So we have our right leg bent and our left leg straight. You can kind of adjust that on your mat for yourself. If that right leg needs to be straight, if that was enough folded knees we just did, then you can straighten out the right leg. And let's take a twist to the right towards your front, or toward your bent leg, toward what would be the front of the mat. And left hand onto the left leg, reaching out with that right arm, reaching up and over. One more deep breath. And then pulling down with that right arm, turning to face the left leg. And coming forward over your left leg. Try to pull that right sitting bone back and down in the other direction. One more deep breath here. And coming up, pulling that left leg back in. Sitting in that simplified Virasana for a couple breaths. And then we'll sit over to the left hip, sliding that right leg out to straight. Getting situated there. And then we will twist to the left toward the bent leg to the other direction. Inhale and exhale. And right hand on the right leg. Reaching out with that left arm up and over. Side bending over the right leg. Parvrita Janu Shirsasana. And one more deep breath here. And then pulling down with that left arm, turning to face the right leg. And coming forward over that right leg as that left sitting bone does a little pull down and back. And one more deep breath here. And coming up, coming back to that simplified Virasana. Taking a few breaths here, or in any position. And coming around, and we will make our way down to Shavasana. Maybe a little forward bend, stretching out the backs of the knees for a moment. And then making your way down to the floor. And choose losing your arm position, maybe the traditional or hands on the bellies or arms out a little wider. Centering the head and the neck. And take a moment feeling those sides going down, the center line going up. And then letting go of even that, sinking into the inhaling and exhaling, letting yourself rest in the wave of the breath. And then breathing yourself back into your body, into this room. Moving the fingers and toes, getting the circulation going. And stretching the arms up overhead. Bend the knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.